The High Republic's latest audio drama, The Battle of Jedha by George Mann, is out today, making it the very first Star Wars story of 2023. So let's dive right into my thoughts and feelings on the newest addition to the canon. First, let me preface everything by saying that I'm not crazy about the audio drama format. Nothing shows me how much of a visual learner I am more than listening to these. I struggle to stay focused, my mind wanders, I find myself rewinding a lot to make sure I understood something correctly. I just prefer being able to read the words. Reading along with an audiobook, I have no problem, but just listening, I don't retain as much information, and that's frustrating for me. Fortunately, the hardcover edition of the story will arrive on February 14th, so I'll have a chance to revisit everything, but I think it's important that I tell everyone where I'm coming from at the start. All that said, of the 4 Star Wars audio dramas that have been released, The Battle of Jedha is my second favorite. I think I still liked Dooku Jedi Lost more, but The Battle of Jedha easily edged out Dr. Aphra and Tempest Runner for me. Dr. Aphra was a retelling of the Darth Vader comics that I had already read. Tempest Runner, another High Republic story, simply felt skippable. We got to learn about the history of an important character, but her present-day story didn't change all that much. She started and ended in basically the same situation. I think that was by design so people who did skip the story wouldn't be confused. The Battle of Jedha is far more significant to the events of Phase 2. I'm sure the upcoming second wave of books will find ways to summarize the events that take place, but despite my reservations surrounding audio dramas, I am glad I listened to it, and I think it's a smart move to release the hardcover edition of the story in February. Most audio dramas had a far longer wait for the physical versions, but this time around, anyone who would prefer to read the story will have plenty of time to do exactly that before the next round of High Republic books comes out in April. And fans who love to listen to books and stories can do exactly that right now. I know there are a ton of people who prefer that, even if it's not for me, but if you've never listened to a Star Wars audio drama, they're like an audiobook on steroids. Most Star Wars audiobooks have sound effects and music and a single narrator, but the audio dramas have a full cast to make things sound even more cinematic, and the cast for the Battle of Jedha is great. I especially enjoyed Raphael Corkel's performance as Creighton's son, who brings an Obi-Wan Kenobi kind of flair to the Jedi Master. January Lavoie as the mother was also excellent, and Sean Keenan Elias Reyes needs a shout out for playing the very entertaining P-37A, a droid that's only able to speak using scripture from the Church of the Force. Great droid, no notes. It was comedic, but it was also a fun game to try to listen and understand what P3 was really trying to say. As for the story itself, I'm happy with it. The previous stories of Wave 2 established a tenuous ceasefire between 2 warring planets, Irem and Arano. They agree to sign a peace treaty on neutral territory, Jedha, where a growing Force cult called the Path of the Open Hand recently got their foot in the door. The peace talks lead to good, impactful moments, and George Mann uses the build-up to the battle to discuss prejudice and the dangers of ignoring those who hold prejudices. Tons of people ask Creighton's son if there's anything to worry about, and he replies every time with, "Not at all," because that's what he wants to believe. But the story is called The Battle of Jedha, so obviously we listeners know he's wrong. Of course, the ambassadors from Irem and Arano don't trust one another, and they see what they want to see in their supposed enemies, and that idea is explored in some very cool and Star Wars-y ways, like with the Kyber Mirrors of Jedha, or other ways that I won't spoil here. The battle itself is very chaotic, and that very well could be by design, but sometimes I found it to be too chaotic. I had trouble keeping up with who was doing what. When I did follow, what I heard was pretty sweet. I mean, the idea of the Jedi fighting side by side with the Guardians of the Whills is kick-ass, and there were some intense moments that, again, I will not spoil here. It all felt similar to the Nihil attack on the Republic Fair in the Rising Storm, although not quite as impactful. Just a smaller fight with smaller stakes, which is kind of something I'm noticing throughout Phase 2 of the High Republic. It makes some sense because we're jumping back in time even deeper into a period of peace, but it feels a little weird to build up all the momentum of Phase 1 with the Nihil and Marchion Ro and the Nameless, only to dial it back for a bit. I understand the choice, and we're definitely learning some things that will inform Phase 3. I'm just not connecting with these stories as strongly as I did in the first phase. I'm still optimistic that the second and final wave of Phase 2 will bring it all home. Path of Deceit, Convergence, and Quest for the Hidden City all built to the Battle of Jedha, which felt like a pretty strong turning point in just about every plotline, and then we will see the fallout and consequences in Path of Vengeance, Cataclysm, and Quest for Planet X. If you haven't started the High Republic yet, this is not a good entry point. I think you will be completely lost if you jump in now. But if you've been reading and enjoying the High Republic, I don't think you'll want to skip the Battle of Jedha. I think it will be far more significant than Tempest Runner was. Like I said, I'm sure the events will be summarized in the coming books and comics, but I'm glad I experienced the story for myself, even in a format that I struggle with. But it's cool, I can read it again in a month. If you want to pick up the Battle of Jedha today, you can for free on Audible. Just follow the link in the description or visit audibletrial.com/Star Wars Explained. Signing up for an Audible trial will get you a credit for one free audiobook, and you can use it on the Battle of Jedha or just about any Star Wars book you can think of. Or get any book you want. The point is, you get a free book, and you'll be supporting the channel when you do. But that's it for today. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, and consider checking out our Patreon page, where we'll be holding a book club for the Battle of Jedha in a few weeks. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.